It's time to find out
What Shane said
with Shane Manilla.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Gonna keep this short. I literally say that every week, and one of these weeks it'll be true. Just trying to keep these under 15 minutes would be the goal, but I blabber a lot, as evidenced by the first minute and a half of this, so I apologize. So what I did this week, and I thought it'd be fun to share, I actually had a startup draft called the Midseason Degenerates 2. I made them change the name from Midseason Degenerates to Midseason Degenerates, actually $50 too, whatever. So I didn't get it confused with the other midseason league that I started a few years ago. Well, I didn't start, but I'm in. So we had a startup draft that started on, I want to say, Friday afternoon and wrapped up by Saturday evening. Pretty fun. Wanted to go over the settings with you. 12 by 11, super flex. Start 3 running backs, start 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex, obviously super flex. And I had to pick 107. Some of the intricacies of this league, the scoring was 6-point passing touchdowns, 1-point interceptions, so low interception scoring, 0.4 per every 25 yards, passing 0.04, excuse me. Rushing bonuses, 0.15 per rushing first down. And then a bonus of 0.05 per rushing attempt. Tiered PPR scoring, wide receivers get 1, running backs 1.5, tight ends 2.0. What I decided to do with this is go ahead and use the war tool. I wanted to use the war tool. I haven't used the war tool in a draft, I'll be honest with you. So I thought this be a good time, right? What can I take that we found this year from the war machine on DD Fantasy's website? So again, I went ahead and logged into DD Fantasy using my login. I'm going to share that screen with you right now. Pretty screen right here. Welcome to DD Fantasy Football. Dominate your leagues with Trinity and War, right? So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to dominate this league with our war tool. I have some early results for you, and I'll get to that in a minute. So here you see it brings it up. I'm already logged in because I'm logged in as me. Shane says 2024, war season, blah, blah, blah. And then I get my leagues. So now all my leagues pop up. I don't want to tell you how many, but it's a lot. So we're going to scroll down here. MD2, $50. So one of the reasons I use the war tool is I'm not actually used to this scoring. And when we talked about putting this league together, or when we were discussing the scoring, first thing that popped in my head is that, well, obviously tight ends and running backs should probably be fairly valuable. That was my thought. So I ran the war, and I'll bring this up later too. When I get the Rashid Shaheed, or I'll just bring it up now. During the draft, I did not realize that there's actually points for punt return or kick return scoring. Probably both. I think both. Doesn't matter. I don't need to know that off the top of my head. You know why? Because the war machine, war right here, it knows all that information because it's the war that we're going in here is based off your specific league. So just going here, there's a couple ways you can look at it, right? So if you're looking at the war per game, this is giving you actual data for this year. Who's the highest war player, excuse me, the position that you want to use is quarterback, right? Or quarterback is a high scoring position right there. Come down here, this pretty little reddish pink. I think we'll say red, sounds more masculine, although there's nothing wrong with pink. I wear a pink shirt to work whenever I want to. Running backs are right there. Wide receivers and tight ends right there. See that tight end 1 right there. Tight end 1 and wide receiver 1. Just about sharing the same war, hitting the same war. You can scroll down here if you want to go ahead and look war above replacement. Now, what I like to do is I scroll down here, 3-year war average, because I don't want to just look at, the first graph, the very top graph, the one that we're looking at. That's basing it off of the first 5 games of the season. Which isn't a lot of data, right? And it's even smaller sample size when you consider Jordan Love's only played in, I believe, 3 games. Obviously, the QB2 in war, Baker Mayfield has played in a few more games, all of the games. Here you got QB3 in war, Lamar Jackson. No real surprises, right? but then you see the quarterback kind of dip from here all the way down here to QB4 to Josh Allen. And QB4, 5, pretty flat. We jump over to 5, and that's Jaden Daniels, stud rookie. So anyway, so this is what I did. I brought up the war chart. I'm looking at it here. So if you're a visual learner, this is awesome, right? When you come down here, wins above replacement, 3-year war average. What this is going to do is just go by position. It's not going to give you names. It's going to kind of give you a baseline of how you should draft, or at least a roadmap towards how you should draft. And again, quarterbacks are outscoring, at least war-wise, not a lot of the other positions, all the other positions. The QB1, that's the dude to get. QB2, great. 3, 4, 5. Then it starts to flatten out and dip down here. See that arc? Gets low. Running backs, as I suspected, running backs are very valuable in this league. Again, even if I didn't know the scoring for the league, I just go into the war tool and the settings are already in there, and it lets me know, yes, running backs, very, very valuable. Now, what's interesting is you can see the running back 1 all the way up here, 3.19, and then it dips quickly. See this running back 2? Yeah, it dips quickly. 3, 4, 5. It's dipping, and then this straight line going down, almost straight, although it bumps up a little bit right about running back 23. Now, if you're not the type of person that can use charts, like this just looks like mumble jumbo to you. I don't believe that's the actual phrase, but whatever. And here's tight ends, by the way. Tight ends over 3 years. You can also just come down here and actually look at list view. You can do it by 100. That's what I'm going to do. You can break it down by position, quarterbacks. You want to filter it or sort it by most to lowest or highest to lowest. I think that's how people say it. Running backs, obviously, look, every position you go in. But you want to do all. And if you wanted to just export that, maybe you just like working off a spreadsheet. Sure, whatever. Let's download that export or export that CSV file. Open that John up. If you click on it on your computer, okay, that'll open at some point. I'll figure out how to open a spreadsheet, but not today. Oh, there you go. It's initializing. So it's opening up the spreadsheet anyway. But if you didn't want to look at it on here, you could download it, like I said, on a spreadsheet, and then you can kind of just bounce back and forth between the spreadsheet and the draft. So that gave me some kind of tools or ideas of how I wanted to draft. Now, even though wide receivers are, I don't want to say devalued, but they're a little devalued in this league in comparison to running backs and quarterbacks, right? I still thought it would be important for me that I would probably get a wide receiver early. I also had in my head that I wanted to try what I'm calling the trash QB draft. Patent pending, trash QB. If you look at some of the top 12 quarterbacks, talking like Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, thank you, Geno Smith. Look at some of the names in the top 12. It's not the guys you truly expect. It's not the guys that you spent all the draft capital on. So I went another way. So I was combining a few different things right here. I was trying to use the war tool, but also, like I said, I was going to do my best to draft a trash QB strategy. And that's my name. You can't use that. That is strictly the name that I'm using. You can't use it. Trash QB. So again, I had to pick 107 using the war tool again. I let that be my guide. 107, I had a couple wide receivers on the board that were interesting to me. Quarterbacks had gone off the board, the ones that I'd wanted. So I decided, you know what? Let me go another route. What wide receivers do I like? Obviously, for wide receiver 1, there's Justin Jefferson, Malik Nabers, Jamar Chase. How I played it out in my head is if I was drafting today, which I was, I think I like Jamar Chase a little over Justin Jefferson. But I don't know that you can have a wrong answer depending on what you want there. But really, I think it's Malik Nabers. So I came to this the war tool, excuse me, just not to convince or confirm my priors. I just wanted to see where they were at. And you come down here, and who is the wide receiver 1 in war per game? Mr. Malik Nabers. So that's who I went with. All these quarterbacks were gone, or in the case of like Baker Mayfield, I'm not drafting him. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not drafting Baker Mayfield at 107. I don't have that in me, but he would be the perfect quarterback for a trash QB if we got there and he was still on the board. So anyway, so 107, I went ahead and went Malik Nabers. 206, I had the 206. At this point, what was available on the board, I wanted to lock down the tight end. So I did lock down the tight end. And the choices for me for the tight end one were George Kittle. Yeah, we're back there. George Kittle, obviously Sam Laporte is up there. Brocktavius Bowers. That's who I like, Brocktavius. So what I went ahead and, again, just checking the war. Where does Brocktavius check in at the tight end position? Well, second overall in war per game. And you can see it's a pretty significant difference between Brock Bowers and the tight end 3. Surprisingly, Cole Kmet. Surprising to me, at least, although Cole Kmet has had some really kick-ass games this year. Shout out to everyone that held on to him while I was talking trash on him. My bad. Anyway, George Kittle, he's the war leader, 0.11 per game, but he's also 31 years old. Brocktavius is 21. I'm using war as a map, a graph, a tool. I'm not using it to do the draft for me. So I went ahead and drafted Brock Bowers. Like I said, 10-year age difference, and Brock Bowers is a rookie. I'm sure you know that. And what he's doing as a 21-year-old rookie at tight end, I think is phenomenal. I think there's a ton of upside there. I think he could be George Kittle esque, maybe on a more consistent basis and hopefully less injury prone. So third round, and we got to the third round, and I'm starting to get a little antsy, right? I haven't drafted a quarterback yet, right? I haven't drafted a quarterback, but I looked at the quarterbacks that were available on the board. And I'm going to just go back to the war tool again, just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking about. The highest quarterbacks available in the third round, 306 or 7. I'm not really sure. 307, I believe. And it was Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, those trash QBs, right? At least I thought those were the trash QBs. Not really feeling drafting them in the third round. So I didn't. And instead, again, just going to jump up to this war graph and go to this running back position. Running back is really kind of high, right? If I could find a way to get the running back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If I could get a top 10 quarterback here, or excuse me, running back here, or a difference maker, I think I got to do that. So going back to the war tool, I'm just going to put them all and just, again, make sure it's filtered by per game, highest to lowest. Let me just look up Kenny Walker. Oh, Kenny Walker, kind of elite. Matter of fact, he's exactly elite at the running back position. This is prior to, this actually included Thursday night's game when Ken Walker had 8 receptions, which obviously skewed this a little bit, but Ken Walker has been getting targets this year. When Ken Walker's opportunity share is really high. Now, I know Zach Charbonnet's been out there on some 2-minute drills, and he's gotten some targets, especially the first few weeks. Obviously, the weeks without Ken Walker, he definitely saw targets. But Ken Walker has kind of been a target. I don't want to say target hog. That's not what he's been. But he's been utilized in the passing attack over the last this year more than we might have expected. So Ken Walker was on the board. I drafted Ken Walker. But now I should let you know that I was trying to trade up to 305, actually, was my pick. I was trying to move up to 305, like crazy, and I could not do it. Luckily, Walker fell to me. I also thought about taking Kittle there, but decided against it. Sometimes I know in leagues like this, I get too excited is the word I'm going to look for, or I start putting all my eggs in one basket, like this tight end basket. I don't want to do that. I think Brock Bowers is enough right now. There's no reason to go George Kittle. So anyway, I went Ken Walker. After that, I could no longer hold out. Someone noted that they wanted to move out of the third round. It was the 310. And I'll be honest with you. At 310, I was feeling pretty scared. I thought, you know what? Maybe now is a good time for me to get a quarterback based on who's left. So I traded up to 310. based on the quarterbacks that were on the board. And you should know right now, this WAR per game actually takes into account Sunday's games, or this weekend's past games. But at that time, Dak was up there pretty highly. Dak had a very, very bad game Sunday. That didn't help. But Dak Prescott is who I went with. But I'll tell you this later in the draft. I don't want to go through every pick. I just wanted to kind of go through these things, these tools, and to highlight some of the things that I was thinking while I did this. And the deal that I gave up was, I gave up the 407 and the 607 for the 310 and 910. My thinking on that, by the way, was around 6 through 9, usually pretty flat. And quite frankly, I couldn't maintain the nerve to go completely garbage QB. I did not have it in me. Hopefully someday I can man up and do that. I could not do that. One bad thing about that was now I don't have a pick until the 5th round. So again, relying, what I did is I'm still relying on the Trinity and more, right? So I'm loading up my queue in Sleeper. My queue had to be about 40 players at all times. And basically it was in the order of whatever war was out there. Now, I did also start using the Trinity tool. And I'm just going to share that with you. I am not going to show you how to log into the Trinity tool. I think if you have been on the DD website, you can figure that out. But if you can't, it's right here, Trinity Tracker. So just wanted to note a couple of things about my draft. Real quick, 506, fifth round. That was my next pick after the Dak pick. I went with Drake May. I like his upside. That's completely off the war or Trinity. Well, obviously Trinity's not on there, but that's completely off the war path. I did not mean it to sound like that. That's completely on my own. Just banking on upside there. Again, based on the QBs that were available, I felt like his upside was enough that I should go ahead and take him there. Just a couple other notes. Sorry. So at 706, at this point, you should know I haven't drafted another wide receiver. I don't actually have another wide receiver on my team. I thought it might be a good idea to get another wide receiver. And what I did is then I went up and opened up the Trinity Tracker, which you see right here. And there was a name on there that I found interesting, Rashid Shaheed. So again, I just looked at the graph. I brought up the New Orleans Saints, which you do right here, right? Entire season, 24, start week 1 to 17. Obviously, that hasn't happened. Looked for New Orleans, updated the chart. I'll need to select the players because once, select the team, New Orleans, excuse me. I'm going to update the chart, and that's just going to give me all the New Orleans pass catchers. You can see all the way over here, we've got Taysom Hill, who hasn't played in a while, way down here. Cedric Wilson. Where's Bub Means? Bub Means, there he is. Bub Means with a 1.34 Trinity score. Not sure, and I don't think that actually takes Sunday's game into account because Bub Means balled out for like 5 receptions, whatever. He had a ton of targets, and guess what? Chris Olave is going to be out a while, so unfortunately, he might see more targets. Now, again, this happened before the Chris Olave concussion, so that wasn't in my thought process. What was in my thought process is if I go over here, you see Rashid Shaheed, 6.24 on the Trinity score. My dude is, my eyes ain't great. I'll give you that, right? My dude is high-end wide receiver 2, just almost at that low-end wide receiver 1 range. Couldn't get there. So again, if you're like me and you don't like graphs aren't your thing, like they look pretty, but really you would much rather look at a list because it's easier. You can hit this Trinity score report, John, right here. And what that will do is bring up a list. See, there you go. Nice in list form. Control F. I'm just going to look up my dude Shaheed. Shaheed. Okay, well, that's why you don't do Control F. And you can just do search right here. Rashid. Make sure I'm spelling my bro's name right. Yeah. Rashid Shaheed, Trinity score for the year, 6.238. Not bad at all. And just for comparison, let's look up Chris Olave on his team, 5.3. Yeah. And obviously now this almost looks like a moot point because Rashid Shaheed has some mystery knee injury. That's not great, Bob. Not great at all. But at the time, you know, we can't know that if someone's going to get injured. Absolutely no way to know that. So at 906, completely war-based pick, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has been not a war monster, but obviously he's far outperformed expectations. So I took Sam Darnold. Another player that I liked, or I shouldn't even say like, but sorry, going back to Sam Darnold, he's my QB3. He was 12th overall and more at that point. Overall, all positions, positionally. Nope, not positionally at all positions. 1207, I went ahead and took Alec Pierce, 5.963 Trinity score, which is 53rd among wide receivers. Not great. You know what I mean? It's really not great. But he has given you several boom weeks. It's pretty fun. My dude has been the definition of boom bust. He has 3 weeks in the top 20, wide receiver 10, 11, and 20 finish, and then 3 weeks outside of the wide receiver 70 range. So not great, but, you know, I'm okay with that. He's one of my flex guys. I throw him in the flex. I'm going to live with the donuts he gives me with the hopes that he can give me some of those wide receiver 10, wide receiver 11 weeks thrown in there, sprinkled in there as well. So that was it. I just wanted to go through, talk about the draft, how I used the Trinity mostly the war tool. I used the Trinity for a little bit, you know what I mean, for those wide receiver shots that I was taking at the early mid part of the draft, I guess, when it starts getting a little sketch. Rashid Shaheed, completely Trinity. I'd feel a lot better if dude's knee wasn't injured, but it is what it is. Alec Pierce, again, Trinity score, pretty good, and he's going to give me some boom weeks. So that's all I got. Make sure you check out the site, ddfantasy.com. Yes, DD Fantasy. Just type that in the URL, John, and it'll pop up, DD Fantasy. Hey, and if you're not a patron of DD Fantasy, think about becoming a patron. A lot of great content over there, exclusive to our patrons. We have a whole podcast feed where we are bumping 1 to 2 shows a day, every day for our patrons. So I appreciate y'all, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.